Well, let's get into The Predator. Let's talk about it. To the channel, hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're on to the fourth installment in the Predator franchise. But before getting into it, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Yes, that's right. Today we're going to talk about The Predator. And now, after Predators came out in 2010, it got some decent reviews and it made some money worldwide, but it wasn't as well received or the big hit 20th Century Fox had hoped it would be. So the Predator franchise was kind of dormant for a little while. Then came a little movie called Iron Man 3, written and directed by Shane Black, which was a huge hit that summer it came out. Around this time, 20th Century Fox was looking to bring the Predator franchise back, and who other to do it than Hawkins from the original Predator, and that is Shane Black. So Shane Black went off and wrote the script with Fred Decker, somebody he had collaborated with before in the 80s on Monster Squad. And that was kind of exciting because I'm a big Shane Black fan. He wrote some awesome scripts, directed some cool movies, and Fred Decker is a genre favorite with Night of the Creeps and the Monster Squad. So figured, what could go wrong here? Well, The Predator came out September 14th of 2018. It's rated R. It's an hour and 47 minutes long. Had a budget of $88 million, which to this point was the biggest budget they've had for any Predator film. And upon release, it made 51 in America and 160 worldwide. Now, our cast here, Boyd Holbrook came in to play Quinn. He is this Army Ranger sniper who at the beginning of the film is on a mission in South America. Trevante Rhodes plays Nebraska. He is one of the Loonies, and we'll talk about them in a second. Jacob Tremblay plays Rory. He is Quinn's son, and he is autistic or has Asperger's syndrome, one or the other. Keegan-Michael Key plays Coyle, and he is one of the Loonies as well, that we'll discuss in a second. Thomas Jane, I like Thomas Jane a lot in many films. He plays Baxley in this film, and he's also one of the Loonies. Olivia Munn plays Casey. She is a scientist in this film, and Jake Busey plays Keys. That's right, Peter Key's son is in this film, but they really don't dwell on that much. They just say his name, and that's about it. So he's the son of Peter Keyes from Part 2, but that's about as far as it goes. We don't really get any backstory there or anything like that. Right at the beginning of the film, we see a Predator spaceship going towards Earth, and in the meantime, Quinn is on a mission in South America, and him and his team are in South America to make a hit on this drug cartel. I think that's what's going on. It's not entirely clear, but we see the spaceship coming down and crashes, and the Predator takes out all of Quinn's men, except for Quinn, who manages to get away, and he finds some of the Predator tech, the helmet, the gauntlet, and this little ball that makes him be able to go invisible. Who knew that was a thing? Because it was never established in other films, but whatever. And he goes to this little Mexican town or south of the border town and has this guy that runs a bar. He shows up, threatens the customers, and tells this guy to mail him back to the U.S. to his P.O. box. Why this guy would do that, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't. I would walk away with the shit and then toss it in the trash or keep it for myself. He gets caught and taken back to the United States. And he gets interrogated. And one of the Predators got caught by this special unit, and it's in this lab. And they bring Olivia Munn in to show her the creature, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the Predator wakes up and starts killing everybody. And in the meantime, Quinn, after his interrogation, gets put on this bus with the Loonies, these bunch of ex-military guys who have PTSD. And they escape from their captor, and they get chased by the Predator, and blah, 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 blah. At the end, I'm fast forwarding through this because the plot is really not all that spectacular here. At the end, we have a final battle. We get introduced to this 10-foot high Predator who kills the other Predator, and Quinn and the Loonies have to figure out a way to beat it. They do end up killing it, although doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering what was set up before it. And at the end, we get a dumbass set up to a sequel where the other Predator, the regular Predator, left them a mechanical suit, a lot like Iron Man, so they could fight off any Predators that come to Earth. And that is The Predator. What to like about this film? The setup, I don't mind the setup. There's some shit that don't make sense, like why this guy in this town, in this bar, would send Quinn stuff for him after he kind of threatened his customers. I don't know why, but he does anyway because the plot needs it to happen, so that's what happens. Whatever, I can forgive that. The beginning of the Predator coming to Earth and Quinn's team getting taken out and Quinn getting taken into custody and the interrogation, all that stuff is fine. The introductions to the Loonies, although their characterizations are just one thing about them, like one guy likes to tell jokes, like Keegan-Michael Key's character. Thomas Jane's character has Tourette's and curses a lot, and each one has their own little tick. And that's pretty much all you get of these guys, honestly. Chemistry-wise, there's a little bit of chemistry there, but it just doesn't seem right, honestly. And then, of course, we have to have a kid involved here. Why, I don't know. Jacob Tremblay's character serves no purpose here. He's not needed. It's a character that could be cut out, and all that crap involving him could be cut out and streamline the story more. There's just stuff throwing in here that doesn't need to be here. And I don't know. Here's the problem with this film. Well, let's continue on with some of the likes. I think Boyd Holbrook is good as Quinn, as good as he can be. He's given it his all. Thomas Jane is trying. I don't think his character is very well written, and the whole Tourette's thing, it's like, okay, but you don't really get to know him to really give a shit about him. And I think the Predator, when it's practical, the regular Predator looks really good. It looks amazing. It's really well done, and whoever's performing in the suit does a really nice job. There's definitely a lot of gore here when it happens. Some of it's CGI, which I have a big problem with. Some of it's practical, although it's more CGI than practical. But there's definitely a lot of gore here. No matter how you look at it, I'm not a big on CGI gore. I think it looks like shit, but there is a lot of gore here. So in that respect, they definitely gave us the Carnage candy for sure. The action scenes are okay. This movie's not shot the greatest. I'm going into my negatives here. The guys in the group never seem afraid, really, of what the hell is going on. Even when the 10-foot tall Predator shows up, they don't seem concerned or afraid. Now, even in the first film, we had some of the biggest guys on the planet in that film. And even they looked afraid once they realized that they are facing down mortality at this point, because they're facing something they've never come across before in their lives. And you could tell even on Arnold Schwarzenegger's face that he's scared at one point. That all of them are afraid at one point. And in this movie, none of the guys seem really afraid here. Even when the big-ass Predator shows up, which is a one big walking plot hole. I don't know why. Bigger is not always better, and this thing looks like shit because most of it's CGI. I don't like it that the Predators are experimenting with genes and made these super Predators. It's already an outstanding physical specimen. How much better can you get? Just because it's bigger don't make it better. And then there's a lot of plot holes towards the end, which there was a lot of reshoots done to the third act of this film. Originally, there was a lot of photos showing two Predators riding on like tanks and stuff in broad daylight. And supposedly the third act in the original cut before the studio mandated reshoots was it took place in daylight, which is totally fine. In the original film, John McTiernan milked a lot of suspense out of daytime scenes. And there were some really cool action scenes during the daytime scenes. But the studio mandated the whole third act was reshot, and you can tell because the third act's a dumpster fire of being incoherent, number one, in some spots. People just die really quick, like just one after another. You could tell it was all reshot. And honestly, this movie looks like it's not very cinematic. It just looks very generic. The set, it just feels cheap. And they spent $88 million on it. I don't know if they didn't have enough money left over when they did a reshoot, so it just looks cheap. I don't know. But a lot of this movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of ideas. There's some cool ideas here, but there just feels like there's too much bullshit crammed in here. And I don't know whose fault that is. Is that Shane Black and Fred Decker's fault? Is it the studio's fault? I don't know. Again, I know Shane Black likes to put kids in some of his scripts. The kid here, I know what they're going for, but it's totally unnecessary. It's giving us another character to worry about. When if you just streamlined the heart of this story, you would have been probably pretty good if you just would have concentrated on this group of guys and just went from there. I know he was trying to introduce new ideas, but the mechanical suit at the end doesn't work. I just think it's bullshit. And it's just like, it's like an Iron Man suit that the Predators designed for human races to fight off Predators. I don't know. There's just a lot of ideas crammed in here, and a lot of them don't land. A lot of the jokes don't work. There's large chunks of this movie in the middle. We don't even get to know the characters. It's just kind of boring. Like, they're just meandering from this hotel to Quinn's house. Then they got to find Rory. And not to even pick on Rory a little bit here, but he even kills this guy because he puts the Predator mask on and goes out trick-or-treating. And when this guy throws a can at him, hits him in the head, the laser gun pops up and kills the guy and blows up the guy's house. It's like, what the F is going on here? There's just a lot wrong with this film. Now, like I said, the last third of this movie was all reshot, mandated by the studio. and it feels like a different movie. I don't know if Shane Black did the reshoots or what. None of the stories ever came out about actually what happened, besides that there was reshoots mandated. But this movie is a mess of a movie. I was in it for the first quarter of the film, and then once the Predator gets loose, I was okay there. Then they introduced the Predator dogs, which was bullshit as well. I don't like them. They don't look good on screen. They don't work really. And then with the gaps in logic at the end, where the Super Predator gets hit by certain things and it doesn't affect it, but then when it needs to get affected by it, it gets killed by it. There's just a lot of plot holes here that it just feels like it was rushed, not very well thought out. And I don't know if I don't know if that's the studio's fault or that's Shane Black's fault. I don't know. But this film is a mess. Like I said, the first quarter of it's not bad, and there's some cool gore moments, but overall, this is just a run-of-the-mill blah Predator film. I would even say Predators is a more enjoyable film than this. And this film never even comes close to reaching the heights of the original film. And not to mention, it's not even close to being as good as the second film. Matter of fact, this is a pretty not good sequel. There's some cool little things in there. But overall, it's a huge mess of a movie. The editing sucks, especially in the second half. The action's just blah. And that Super Predator is just a walking, talking plot hole. And it's not needed here. I know they're trying to introduce some new stuff, but overall, this movie on multiple levels does not work for me. Besides a few things I did care about, overall, I would give this film like a 3.5 out of 10. It's not a very good movie, and it was very disappointing when I first saw this, knowing the talent involved behind the camera. And even in front of the camera, there's some good actors here. I just don't think nobody really gets a chance to shine. I think Boyd Holbrook does the best he can, and he's pretty good here. I would like to see him in a better Predator film. But overall, yeah, 3.5 out of 10 for The Predator. What are your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Share this. Really would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with a review for Mr. Majestic, and then we're going to dive into the AVP films. God help us all. But until then, bye.